Hi, and welcome to Studio 411, but believe it or not, I made it. Larry Dasilva here, welcoming you to another episode of the program. And we are very fortunate to have a returning guest on the program, composer, author, Emmy-nominated gentleman. Mr. Don Trenner is joining us. Don joined us last year on the program, and we enjoyed him so much and barely scratched the surface of his long career. In 2017, Don has entered an exclusive club. Don turned 90 years young and is the author of a book, a memoir, the first of hopefully several, called Leave It to Me, My Life in Music by Don Trenner with Tim Atherton. It's by Bear Manor Media, www.bearmanormedia.com for more information. Don, I'm glad you finally made it.
Yeah, I left 2 weeks ago.
Left 2 weeks ago, yeah. That's an old joke probably from vaudeville, but I want to get to something, some things we didn't cover the last time you were here. In the book, when I had read it the first time, you developed kind of as a hobby, and I want to say it was probably once you were already traveling on the road, or it was you were assembling like electronics, and what do they call those?
There was a company called the Heath Company in Benton Harbor, Michigan, and they had a wonderful product line called Heath Kits.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I built a 45-inch television set that I still watch.
You're kidding! Wow! And now, what was
25 years old.
What was the first thing that you built? I mean, this was back in the 40s.
An AM and FM receiver and a little preamplifier.
And now that was something that, in other words, I know you I think it was for Anne Margaret and her husband Roger Smith. Didn't you build some and give them as gifts to people over the years?
Well, yeah, not to them, but I did. Oh. Anne Margaret's birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, it is? Okay. Well, when this airs, we won't know, but every day will be Anne Margaret's birthday. Yeah. By the way, did you know she's in a new movie?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. And I just read a review. It's a remake of the 79 film Going in Style, which was with Art Carney and Lee Strasberg and, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting. Quick, somebody Google. But anyway, was it Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Arkin now play the same, I guess, characters up there. Yeah,
I'm so happy she did that.
But I read a piece in there. I don't know if you stay in touch with her, but I read a piece
regularly. I'll be talking to her tomorrow.
That I heard that she had a song, I guess a duet with Alan Arkin, that unfortunately got kind of cut short. It's unfortunate because it would have been nice if they left the whole number in. Yeah.
Why did they cut it short?
I don't know. The director, I guess, maybe they felt, you know,
they'll
just
be
a little
punished
snip.
for that.
Well, I mean, because, you know, she doesn't work as much, nor does she need to.
Yeah.
But how is she doing? I mean, as long as we were talking about her.
She's one of the nicest people I've ever known in my life.
And now you worked with her more than a dozen years.
24 years.
24 years, my goodness. Oh, that is amazing. And how did that come about? Again, now that since we're starting with Anne Margaret, were you introduced to her?
Marvin Hamlish called me once. I had done the Academy Award show in Los Angeles as a pianist. I think I did some writing for the show also. And Marvin called me and asked me if I would be interested in going with her as musical director. And I said, well, let's talk about it. I think that would be a lot of fun. So he said, we'll call you back. And he called me back and we discussed some of the details. And then he said something really rather curious to me. He said, I'm a little embarrassed, but let me ask you, he said, on the Steve Allen show, is that you playing piano? And I said, yes. He said, okay, you got the job.
Wow. There you go. There you go. And I'm trying to remember, I spoke to someone since the last time you were here. I'm trying to remember, and it is escaping me right now. Someone who actually said, wait a minute, is that the guy that used to play on the old Steve Allen show? And once I said to them, well, yeah, well, depending on which old Steve Allen. I said, oh, the syndicated 60s version. And they said, oh, yeah. I said, I remember him.
Yeah, well, there was a show prior to that syndicated show.
Oh, sure.
He was doing a show for ABC, and we did a year of that when I was with the Les Brown Orchestra, and I was as a pianist, and that's how Steve and I became close friends.
So he did the old Tonight Show, and then they spun him off into the Sunday show that was supposed to be the one in competition with Ed Sullivan, correct?
Yeah.
And then I wasn't aware. Then he did a show on ABC for a year. That's where you connect.
Yeah.
Wow. And what happened with that one?
I guess it just progressed to him doing a syndicated show.
And then the one that you did with him.
I don't know all of the...
the one you did with him was for the old Westinghouse network.
That's
correct?
right.
Yeah, there you go. I remember that.
That was 5 nights a week, an hour and 45 minutes a night.
Yeah, and that was an hour and 45 minutes. I mean, it just, I guess with commercials or whatever, maybe they stretched it out to 2 hours. But I remember watching that as a kid, and I thought, this is great.
Yeah.
He even did one, I think it was the version after he came back from doing I've Got a Secret, where he went back, and I believe it was Westinghouse again, where he did an entire show, and there was no audience. It was just him. I don't know if they were showing maybe some old clips or whatever, but I mean, he could just go on forever. I mean, he was a marvelous
He was
talent.
amazing.
And I know you and I have talked about it. I would love to be able to have you and Steve's son Bill on sometime to really, reminisce about.
I don't know how much Bill does, but Steve Jr. is a very close friend of mine, and I see him
Steve
regularly.
Jr. I'm sorry, I thought it was Bill. Okay, no, Steve.
Bill
Jr.
is the child that Jane and Steve had.
Gotcha.
And the other three are from his first marriage.
Oh, okay, all right. So then the one that I must have read the article then was Steve Jr. I gotcha, okay. Because I knew one of them was kind of, I don't want to say recluse, but didn't do a lot of speaking to the media. And then I was like, oh, wow. I said,
It could be Bill, I don't know.
I think it is, yeah. But then Steve
He
Jr.
sort of ran the Steve Allen office after Steve passed away.
Oh, he did? Oh, okay.
And I think he took care of all the business. It may still exist, too. There's probably an office.
There you go. Now, for those who don't remember or did not see the first time that Don was with us, of course, Don, born in New Haven, Hamden area, spent some time in Hamden, and then spent his formative years in New Haven. I just love when we were talking about how you and your mom used to go to Harlem to you take the train, I assume, and then go check out some of the clubs. Did you ever Club Savoy? Probably the
Minton's was a jazz club there, and I played there, you know, also.
Yeah.
I sat in. I mean, I never was actually engaged to play there. I just went as a spectator. I was a young kid. Believe it or not, I was.
Yes,
young,
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
I've never been this old before. You know. This is new for me.
How does it feel, by the way, now in 2017 to reach that plateau?
Well,
I mean, you're joining some lofty company there. Kay Ballard, who was on our show, is in her 90s, and Don Rickles, who passed away in 2017, got to 90. I mean, again, just that's amazing. You know, people in the old days say, "Oh, never. You're lucky to make it to 80," and you're still going strong. I mean,
fortunately.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I have to. I have a young daughter, so I got to stick around. You know.
But she's now she's working, correct?
She's 25 years old. She finished school, graduated from UConn as a music major, and she's pursuing a classical voice career.
Oh, really?
But she's taking a year off, and then she's going back for her master's.
Wow, impressive! Yeah. And now I lost track. I know this is a touchy subject with you. I was going to ask you since at the beginning, I was going to say since we last spoke on air, had you gotten married again? But
no.
You think you've hung up that mantle now? That or is there someone?
No one's calling.
No one's calling us. Sometimes you got to go and grab the bull by the horn, as they say.
Thanks. I don't need the bull or the horn.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but my goodness. And again, married 4 times, right?
Yes.
I never thought I was beyond number 2, so you know.
I'm not really thrilled with that, and as long as you mentioned it, I have to agree. I don't like to talk about it because it brings up a lot of joy and sorrow.
Absolutely, yeah. And but you, I think you said when you were on the last time, a lot of that perhaps stemmed from, I think with a lot of people, stems from maybe their upbringing, maybe friends, relatives, parents that they see go through certain things sometimes. Because we discussed, I think you consider yourself like almost like an enabler. You tried to say 3 times.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know.
That's a big problem, you know. To always say yes is not wise.
No. Well, okay. Well, yeah. It's. I think we can all relate it.
I'm very non-confrontational, and that doesn't always work.
Now I bring it up again in a good sense. Is this not one of your
She died
past
far
lives?
too early of cancer.
And you guys were married, what, in the 40s, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And she was, as we
were married for, I guess, 11 or 12 years.
Oh, and she was quite a singer, from what I understand.
And I didn't know that when I met her.
Yeah, no kidding. Now,
I met her when I was 18 years old.
How'd you guys meet? Oh, looky here, Don. We have a caller calling it. Wait a minute. Let's see here. I think we have a caller. Caller, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, wait a sec. Hold on. Let's see if I get this right. Let's see if that'll work. Okay, caller. Can you hear me, caller?
I can hear you, yes.
There you go. Look at this. It's a mystery caller. My goodness. How did you meet Don Trenner? I want to know that whole story in about a minute and a half or less.
All right. Well, I met Don Trenner through my husband and his work at Mohegan Sun. And almost from the moment I met my wonderful husband, he told me, "You've got to meet Don Trenner." And so shortly after we were married, we took a trip to see Don with the Hartford Jazz Orchestra, and of course saw him in fine form then, and then had occasion to work with him on a couple of shows, and just have nothing but great things to say about Don, the man himself. What a charming, wonderful person he is, so warm, so generous. So darn funny, oh my gosh, and just an incredible accompanist, and just a beautiful musician. It's been an honor to work with him.
Now, Don looks a little confused, so I just want to point out to him, her husband, it was not Xavier Cugat, so this is not Charo, okay? Okay, so do you know who this is?
That's not Charo.
No, do you know who this is?
No, I don't.
He doesn't know who you are. Give him a clue. When's the last time you saw him?
I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he played a wonderful concert in a little town called Hampton, Connecticut with me.
Okay. I was there, wasn't I?
You were,
As a matter of fact, I think we have a shot.
Michelle, you were so cute.
Look at that.
Gosh.
Yeah, Don goes, you were so cute. Say hi to Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. I love you.
Hi. Darling, I love you. And, oh, my gosh, it's so fun that Larry got me to play this mystery caller for you.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of laughs with this, I can tell you right now. 'Cause, he's not good on, he may be good on tonal things such as musical instruments, but voices, I'm not sure. So, Michelle, I had a marvelous time with you guys. Remind me again, who was the bass player on that?
Lou Bacchiarelli.
Lou Bacchiarelli, okay, yeah. And I keep seeing Lou's name all over the place. He's worked with.
He's the bassist with the Hartford Jazz Orchestra.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, and of course, Don, since 2000, has been the leader of the Hartford Jazz Orchestra, saying it correctly. And you guys play at what, Arch Street Tavern, correct?
Arch Street Tavern.
Arch Street
7
Tavern
to 9 every Monday night.
Every Monday. It's like Woody Allen going to that club he used to go to. Maybe we can get Woody to.
I beg your pardon. We play from 8 to 10.
8 to 10. There you go. There you go. Michelle will have to stop in and croon a little bit for you guys, huh?
Oh, I just come and listen. Oh, it's heaven.
There you go. There you go. I have not had the pleasure yet, but yeah, I definitely have to get down there. Maybe we can all, party hardy and go see Don and Lou and the rest of the gang. Michelle, again, I appreciate you taking a few moments out of your busy schedule to, pay a little hello to our friend Don. And
Absolutely.
He's smiling already, despite all the hellacious traffic. I think that you've just sweetened the pot just by calling in.
Oh, that's great. Well, I have to tell you, I just shortly, a couple of days after our show that we did, I finished Dawn's book, and it is, oh gosh, what a read. It is such a page turner, and it's not only interesting because of Don's stories and his life, but also just so fascinating in terms of the information he gives about his work as a musician and arranging and putting together shows. It's wonderful, a wonderful book. So, Don, thank you. It's been my honor to know you and to have worked with you. And don't let Larry lead you down the garden path.
Michelle, thank you. That's so kind. All those wonderful things you said about me. I appreciate it.
Every one of them's true, sweetie. Every
Thank
one
you.
of them's true.
All right, Michelle, we'll be in touch. Thank you for joining us.
That's great. Love you both. Have a great night.
Love you too. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Michelle Birding-Brett joining us here on Studio 411, not Charo, okay, but Don had him almost convinced of that. So the book, of course, that Michelle speaks of, Leave It to Me, My Life in Music by Don Trenner with Tim Atherton. Bear Manor Media is the publisher. For more information, www.bearmanormedia.com, right there on the screen, absolutely. All right, now, another story I heard recently that you're pals with Shirley MacLaine, who, of course, you worked with her for. You were nominated
to her
for
on Monday of this week,
and
she turned 83 years old.
Wow, and that's amazing.
And March 10th was my birthday, and I got a phone call one day, and somebody sang "Happy Birthday" to me. It didn't sound too great, but at the end, she said, "I love you, it's Shirley," and I wasn't sure that it was her. So when I called her on her birthday, I said, I have a sort of an appropriate song to sing for you today, but I can't remember the melody.
Oh, boy.
I said, it's Don. And she said, did you get my phone call when I sang to you? And that was the only time it was confirmed.
Oh, because it was a phone message.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That
was great.
That's great. My
yeah,
goodness.
she confirmed the fact that it was her. I thought it was because I couldn't think of any other Shirley.
Yeah, I know you're going through that Rolodex or that.
I wasn't married to a Shirley.
That little black book that's saying, wait a minute, I don't see anything under the S's here. What's going on?
I beat you before you said you weren't married to a Shirley.
No,
I wasn't.
Oh, hey, you could have done far worse, let me tell you. Although, you never know because, depending on which Shirley you get, but I'm not going to say.
I spent a lot of time with her. She's an amazing lady.
You were nominated for an Emmy for work on one of her specials. And now, did you work with her other times besides that?
Well, I did her, we did the whole European tour. Her whole nightclub act was put together in Los Angeles, and I was there from the very beginning. We put it together in a rehearsal studio for many, many weeks.
Wow, I'll tell you, and still going strong. Still, I know she was in a movie within the last 6 months or year that I read. So
I also reminded her that I met her first when she was either 19 or 20. When she was a guest on a Bob Hope show, and I was doing the show.
That was around that had to be like 56, 57.
Yeah, that's right.
Or no, it would have been earlier than that if she's 83. But yeah, because I remember it again. I wasn't even around then, but I do remember her first movie that she was in was with Martin Lewis. It was, I think it was Artists and Models or Hollywood or Bust. I can't remember which one.
You're
it was.
smarter than I am.
Yeah, but no, it just happened that I read a lot. I want to go to this. If we can get a shot here of this.
Oh, I haven't seen that for a while.
No, Steve Allen, who again you worked for many years with Don Trenner and the orchestra, a song called Gravy Waltz. And I'm just curious, now this was written by Ray Brown and Steve Allen, not the Ray Brown, the bass player.
Yes.
It was, okay.
Oh, yes.
So he had his own publishing company. That's impressive.
It's a very funny story if you want to hear the story.
Sure, absolutely. I used to love him when he played on Merv Griffin's show many years later. Ray Brown, what a magnificent bass player.
My guitarist was Herb Ellis.
Okay, yeah.
Herb was one of the greats. He was with the Oscar Peterson Trio. And Herb brought a piece of music into me one day, and he said, why don't you write a chart on this and we can play it for audience warm-up before the TV show starts. So we started to play, and it was Gravy Waltz. And people were whistling because it's a simple melody that really catches on quickly. So Steve called me one day, and he said, Don, what's that tune you play? And I said, it's called Gravy Waltz. And he said, oh. He said, who wrote it? I said, Ray Brown. He said, oh, okay. So he called me a couple of weeks later. And this is the best part of the story. He said, "Do you think Ray would let me write a lyric for it?" And I said, "Well, I'll call him. I'll find out." And Ray, of course, for those that don't know that, is an African-American bassist, was married to Ella Fitzgerald at one part of his life.
I did not know that. Okay, gotcha.
So Steve wrote a lyric. I talked to Ray, and he said, sure. So Steve wrote the lyric, and he wrote, the first lyric was, "Aunt Jemima's in the kitchen," and Ray Brown says, "No, Aunt Jemima in my kitchen."
Wow.
So Steve changed it to "Pretty Mama's in the kitchen." So whenever I saw Ray, I said, "Aunt Jemima's been asking for you."
Oh boy. Okay. Well, that explains why on the record I remember seeing Ray R. Brown, not realizing it was the same person, and Steve Allen. Because if you recall, back in the 50s, I don't know if it was still prevalent by this time, was sometimes people would get. Elvis was a good example. You know, he probably like hiccup in the song, and give him a co-writing credit, or Alan Freed would get a co-writing credit for.
Ray Brown was, of course, such a very close friend of Herb Ellis, because Oscar Peterson's favorite trio was those three: Ray, Herb, and Oscar. You know, so I saw Ray all the time. I played with him, and a remarkable musician.
I think do we have another mystery caller for Don? I don't know. I guess not. Well, we're working. Oh, line one. Look at, we have another mystery call. This is like, I think it's someone. Hold on. Hold on. I think it's someone from New Britain. Let me see if this caller is here. Are you from New Britain, caller?
I'm not.
No. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. Now, tell me, mystery caller, how did you first meet Don?
Well, I first met Don Trenner when I was singing in San Francisco, and he was there visiting, and he came to my show.
Oh, I know who this is.
Oh, he knows. See, the last one he thought it was Charo, but I said, no, it's not Charo. It was Michelle Birding Brett. But anyway, so I think he got the
This is a hot redhead.
Oh, okay. There you go. And introduce the audience who this young lady is.
Believe it or not, this is really her name. Shani Rainbolt.
There you go. Miss Rainbolt.
Now, let's see. Shani, is that you?
It is, Don.
So now I know from looking at Shani's bio that she is from San Francisco, although she now lives in the New York area. But again, about 10, 20 years ago that you first
She could
met
answer
her?
that better than I.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't believe it's been that long.
And now I believe I read, and I think Shani tried to fill me in a little bit, that now Don knew your parents or one of your parents back in the day. Share that story with us.
Yeah, my dad was a television director in the Los Angeles area, and he used to do the Variety Club telethons, and Don was conducting the Variety Club telethons, I believe, if I'm right, Don. And so they worked together. And then fast forward, at least 30 years, he found himself at the Plush Room in San Francisco watching me sing. And unfortunately, my dad wasn't there because he had passed, but my mom was. And it was a beautiful reunion. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It was wonderful. My daughter was there, and she was too young to sit in the nightclub, so they put her up in the light booth.
Oh, okay.
And I was just a spectator because my drummer that traveled with me, Tom Duckworth, was playing drums for her. And so that's the reason I was there.
Wow, there you go. Later on, we're going to be, just so Don's aware, we're going to be closing the show out with a video clip of a song. Shani might remember which one it is to help me out here, but from when you guys recorded a gig at the Metropolitan Room in 2012.
Oh, yes.
Fill me in on, is it Rhythm of the Rain or Memory of the Rain? What did I know I'm botching the title here, Shani.
No, Memory of the Rain.
Memory of the Rain.
There you go.
It's the song that Don wrote with Helen Carr back in the day.
Yes.
And I was honored enough to be able to record it on the album that he and I did together, and to perform it live with him.
the CD called Two for the Road. And now I have to ask, because I ran across that title. Again, titles are not necessarily copyrighted, so they can be used. But I was struck, I think it was George Shearing and Carmen McRae. They had an album many years ago called Two for the Road. Now, was that an inspiration or just coincidence?
No, it wasn't.
No, it was coincidence.
Okay.
Honestly, it was mostly because we both loved the song, and when we were rehearsing to prepare for the shows that ultimately became the album, I was driving up to Connecticut or taking the train to Connecticut, and I don't know, there was just something, it just felt right, you know?
There you go. So, yeah, I stumbled on that. And
Shanie's a wonderful talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'll tell you that after she gets off the phone. Too.
Oh, okay.
I'm better for having been able to know you and make music with you, Don
Thank you,
Trenner.
Shanie.
There you go. There you go. Now, any plans on working together again in the near future?
As soon as she calls me.
There you go. Okay, Shanie, get off the stick here.
What did he say?
He says as soon as you call him, he's there. So we need to get something going.
Yeah.
Either that, or we're gonna, as I said to Shanie when we set this up, we'd like to do a segment sometime with her, and if we can get her down here. If not, we'll do it via Skype or
Tell
whatever.
her to leave 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah, leave 2 weeks in advance. Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Or actually, I have a good idea. You could always take the train down to Madison. Don will pick you up, and at least if he's stuck in traffic, as he was for 2 hours, at least he'll have a smile on his face.
Perfect.
All right, very good. Shanie Rainbolt, thank you so much for taking a few moments to surprise our mutual friend Don Trenner, and we look forward to having you on the Studio 411 in the near future, and we thank you again for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye now. All right, look at that, huh? These
You're pretty tricky.
These calls just keep. I have nothing to do with it. I wish I could get Shirley.
Of course not.
Unbelievable. Leave it to me, as Don is probably saying. My life in music. Don Trenner at Tim Atherton. For more information, bearmanormedia.com. The program Studio 411. Your host Larry Dasilva, composer, arranger, pianist Don Trenner returning with us here and having some fun as we celebrate his long career. And as we said before, in 2017, March, if I am correct, Don turned 90 and has joined quite an exclusive club. And if you've had a chance to see him play, as I have recently, you would be amazed. As I recall, people were coming up to you and complimenting you on your work with Michelle. And when she announced that, I mean, there was like this gasp in the crowd. I mean, they thought she was...
Well, I had to get it right by now. I've been playing since I was 5 years old, you know. So it's time now that I know where some of the good notes are.
Yeah. Now, your assistant, Liz Coburn, who was always invaluable help to you and has also helped us from time to time, she told me about something she unearthed recently where I guess your first composition that you actually wrote out on a book that you had,
she found it.
And you were what, about 8 years old?
6.
6. And I looked at it and I couldn't believe how you could do it. You know, I mean, not that you couldn't do it. Just the structure. I mean, everything.
Yeah, I wrote it all out. When I saw it again, I was really quite amazed because I had forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And I remembered the name of it and everything. You know? And I remembered how it went. I remember it was all there. Sometimes this thing works.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
All righty, let's see. I think I have to let the crew know if we can try caller number 2 again, and then see if we can do that. If not, then we'll move on. But we'll trim that out at some point. Tell me, while we're waiting for another salesman to call, tell me, give me like 3 of your most memorable on-stage moments. I mean, that you just recall as being just almost either pleasing to you personally, pleasing to the audience, or working with someone that you just said, I can't believe I'm doing this.
A couple of them I really are not fit for TV.
Oh, okay. All right.
I do remember one night, though, with Shirley MacLaine when she was doing a big production number in Las Vegas, and we had a set up so that she had to run and go through a door. and she missed the door, and she hit the side frame of the door, and the whole piece fell down. You know.
Wow.
Shirley was really rather interesting. I can tell you some stories quickly about her. Shirley was not one to let anything fall apart in a show.
Right.
And if it did, she let everybody know that it was not her fault.
I
mean, she was really clever about that. We had a lot of synchronized music that we had to do, the things that I did in my studio. We pre-recorded some of the dancers because choreographers don't like to have a dancer holding a microphone.
Okay, yeah.
So we pre-recorded it, so it was actually them that they heard, so it wasn't any kind of a
Now, in
rip-off.
those days, in terms of mics, were there still boom mics? Because there were no portable mics in those days.
Oh, yes, there were.
Oh, and when
sure.
you worked with her in the
Yeah.
70s? Okay.
Yeah, but they
Okay.
didn't want, the choreographers don't want that.
Yeah.
So we pre-recorded a lot of the things, and Shirley was incredible. But sometimes the synchronization didn't work in some of the theaters. So we were in Munich to do a big show there. We're all ready to go on, and they couldn't get all of the technical stuff together. So Shirley grabbed me, and she says, "Come with me." And I said, "What?" She said, "I want you to sit in the front row with me." I said, "Why?" She said, "I want everybody to know that we're ready."
Oh.
That's true.
Now, was
That's
she trained as a dancer? I mean, was she? She was. Okay.
She was a wonderful dancer.
So people think of her obviously as an Oscar-winning, two-time
And she sang
Oscar-winning
too. That
actress.
was probably, she was a better dancer than a singer, but she was a performer, a musical performer, and amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Now, when she did her nightclub act or Vegas, or obviously she's done it all, but the times you worked with her, give me an idea. What was the? Was it song and dance? Was there any banter stories
we had
from
dancers and singers
Yeah.
with us? We had background singers. 37-piece. My orchestra was 37 pieces. It was a big orchestra, really big.
And that was based out of Vegas or California or?
Only in places that could handle anything that big.
Right.
The same thing with Anne Margaret.
Yeah. And now you were not with Anne when she had that terrible fall back.
Just after that.
Just after that.
Just
Okay.
after
So
that,
after because she was recovering for probably
that happened
close
in
to a
Lake
year.
Tahoe.
Yeah, and suffered quite a few facial fractures, if I recall. And
she came to my house for dinner one night, and she said, I think she said, I had 19 fractures. And she pointed to her mouth.
Wow.
She's a wonderful lady.
I'm told, speaking of wonderful ladies, I'm told we have another salesman here on the line. So let me see if this person is here. All right, caller, tell us, how did you meet Don?
Oh, a very long time ago, because he's just so marvelous for words. He plays piano and he's wonderful. And I had a lot of fun with him in his career, all during his career.
Now, just to clarify, because Don was stumped by the first of our several callers, you're not Charo, correct? I don't think. Okay, no. Obviously, she's not Charo. So okay.
I'm sure that.
Do you know who this caller is?
Not yet. To tell.
No. Okay. Tell us more about your encounters with Don. He's still thinking about it.
He does. He is still thinking
Yes,
about it.
he's
Let me
still
see.
thinking, yeah.
Good morning, my dear. I love you today. I've said it before, I know, but even so, I love you today. Do you remember that song?
Of course, I remember it.
I'll give you a hint. It's not one of your ex-wives, so it's, you can rule them.
Well,
out.
you
No,
gotta
it's not.
stop.
No. It's you're walking along the street, or you're at a party, or else you're alone, and then you suddenly dig.
No.
I'm still not sure.
Still not sure.
I know that voice almost.
When is? I think we have even an image of you with this lovely jazz singer, a cabaret singer. Let's see. I'll give you a hint. She recorded at one point for RCA Victor. That much I can tell you.
Well, a lot of people did. That doesn't
a lot of
help.
people. It's not Elvis. I get that.
At the same time that I went with RCA Victor, Don wanted to take me to Dot Label.
Oh,
I
I know.
Oh, light bulb just went off in his head. Now, who is this young lady?
I'm not going to tell you.
That-
yet.
that wasn't going to work because RCA had signed me, but they had seen me on the Steve Allen show with Don Trenner playing piano.
Now, mystery caller, you told me when we spoke setting this up that you told me a story about when you were on the old Steve Allen show and Don was the conductor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's it. That's the story.
Yeah. Oh, that's the story. Okay. Obviously,
we were on the Steve Allen show.
Obviously, you didn't make a good impression,
Don was the conductor of the band.
There you go.
And I did it many times. I used to fly out from Kansas City and do the Steve Allen show, and then RCA saw me on that show and signed me to a contract, and we have 7 albums on the RCA label, and the first it was Meet Marvelous Blank Blank was the name of the first album, and I sang I Love You Today on it, which Steve Allen wrote that wonderful song. It was written for Sophie, a great song.
Yeah.
And Don, of course, then we had years later, Shaney and Therese, his dear friends, brought him to see me at Feinstein's Lowe's Regency. I was appearing at Feinstein's. And Shaney and
Don looks like I see a smile.
I just want to interrupt this wonderful lady for 1 second and let you know that she probably is, without a doubt, the greatest cabaret jazz singer that ever happened in life. She did, I think, 77 shots on the Johnny Carson show. Marilyn May is a gem.
There you go. Welcome, Ms. Marilyn.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you, honey. Are you having fun?
He is now. When he was on the road for 2 hours, he didn't look too fun to me. Oh, my goodness. Look at that, huh?
Marilyn, it's so good to hear your voice.
Hi, sweetheart. I love you. How are you?
I'm fine. I didn't recognize your voice immediately because it's coming on
It's
one of
probably
those...
the telephone, and then I don't know what kind of a reception you have there, but my telephone is not all that good.
Well,
and
but he's got a
sitting
cheap
in a
telephone.
studio with all kinds of noise going around me, so...
Yeah, his
in a
phone is
rehearsal
really...
studio.
Yeah, his phone is really cheap. It hangs on the side. You know what I mean?
We have one of those crank phones
There you
like
go.
the old days.
Oh, Marilyn, thank you. It's so great to hear you.
Oh, honey, yeah, I'm so glad to talk with you. So, is this your birthday? Tell me.
Oh, my birthday was March 10.
Yes, and mine's April 10.
I know that.
Well, belated happy birthday to you. Very good.
And I just did 8 shows at Feinstein's 54 Below. We just did 8 nights there. And then last night, oh, Don, I wish you'd have been there, we did a tribute with the great, to Ella Fitzgerald at Rose Hall at Jazz at Lincoln Center with the great Wynton Marsalis band. And boy, did they ever cook.
Oh, absolutely.
Love that.
Of course.
Those guys are just phenomenal. They really are. It was just a joy, and we got standing ovations, and I was kind of early in the show. I followed Audra McDonald, who was beautiful. She sang beautifully, and Harry Connick Jr. was on it, and it was just a lovely time. So
no names, though, right?
We all loved Ella, of course, and I knew her so well, and you did too.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Don just said no names at this gala, correct?
Oh, God. Well, it was great fun, and Ella and I used to sit in dressing rooms and talk. And, of course, you and I, when we were with Steve, there was lots of fun conversations in those days. I have no idea how long ago that was.
We don't need to know that, you know.
There you go.
We're still doing what we do. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
And you're a young puppy still.
Well, I'm really not, but I'm very I'm working solidly, and it's a joy. I'm teaching for the next 2 weeks. I teach from about 11 o'clock till 8 in the evening, and I have private students and master classes and things that you would love partaking in, because it's really, the master classes are fun. Well, you played one of my master classes.
That's
Do you
right.
remember that?
That's right, and I'm appearing with her on Sunday, Sylvia Mims.
God.
You might not
how
remember
fun.
her. I did an album with her. She's an African-American, wonderful, wonderful lady. And
where will you be?
in Southington, Connecticut. I have to leave 3 days early for that.
I know it, honey. But you don't have to walk. You can drive.
There you go. There you go. It'll cut it down to 2 days. Marilyn May, I can't thank you enough for not only surprising me the other day when you called me to help set this up, and again, I can't thank you enough. And we look forward to having you.
I'm very honored. I am very, very honored. Believe me.
Thank you, sweetheart. Well, great fun in our lives, and we're still doing what we love to do, and bringing joy to the world, not bad news.
All right, Marilyn, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye now. All right, look at that.
I'll tell you a little secret. A couple of years ago, Marilyn, who was very close friends with Shaney, came up to Hartford and sang with the Hartford Jazz Orchestra one night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And she is something else.
Oh,
I mean,
Marilyn May.
she's another one that I get exhausted just hearing her schedule. When she was telling me,
she's amazing.
We spoke for probably a good half hour about what she's doing. And again,
She's really amazing. She walks on the stage and the audience becomes hers at once. It's amazing.
I saw when I was doing some research on Marilyn, just so I wouldn't make an idiot of myself, that she, within the last 5 or 10 years, she recorded a CD, and I'll ask her when we hopefully have the chance to have her do a segment of her own on the show, that she actually recorded a CD as a tribute to Johnny Carson. I don't know if you knew that. But
I think I remember hearing that.
And I was like, wow. And I thought that was...
Yeah, she did, I think, 77 shots on that show.
Yeah, and because I could see, when he was in New York, but then I thought, well, she must have been going out to California a lot too, because he, from 71, 72, he was out on the
Well,
West
the funny
Coast.
story with her is that Steve recorded for a company called Dot Records. It was a subsidiary of Decca. And they called me and asked me if I would put together a jazz catalog for them. So I went back to Chicago and I recorded a jazz pianist. Then I called Marilyn and I said, let's do something. And she said, great. So I figured that she was going to do an album for us.
There you go.
But the next day she called and she got an offer from RCA. So it never happened.
Speak of the devil. Now,
There she is. There's Shaney.
There's Don, all smiles. There's Shaney to my right, and there's the lovely Marilyn May.
Right.
And this lady,
Therese Janeko.
Janeko. And there's Don, like a Cheshire cat, mind you, over here. So he's having a good time. And actually at Feinstein's at Lowe's Regency. Very good. Well, we have another person. The cavalcade just continues. It's amazing. But let me remind folks that are watching Studio 411. Our guest, Don Trenner, Emmy-nominated composer, arranger, and author of Leave It to Me, My Life in Music, along with Tim Atherton, published by Bear Manor Media. For more information, bearmanormedia.com. Now let's see. This is, I love doing it. I could do this all night. Let's see now. Let's see if we have our caller. Caller, tell me, when was the first time you met Don?
I met Don Trenner probably about 3 years ago at a Marilyn May masterclass.
She was just here. We just had Marilyn on the phone. How fortuitous.
I know who it is, but let her talk a little bit more.
Okay, go ahead. Talk some more. Continue on. He wants to make sure you're not Charo. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, handsome. Good to
Hi,
hear
beautiful.
Your
I'll
voice.
see you
I'm looking
Sunday.
forward to playing with you on Sunday.
That's right.
You know who this is?
Of course.
Tell the audience so that they know.
Sylvia Mims is an incredible talent.
Absolutely. She's been on this show. She is fabulous.
And Marilyn just mentioned that I did a master class for Marilyn May.
Yeah.
And Sylvia was one of the people that I played for.
Oh, okay.
And I guess a year or so later, she called me and she said, I finally got enough nerve to call you and ask you if you would work with me.
Wow.
And we've been friends ever since. She and her husband.
True,
Serge.
very true. And it's been nothing but good fortune since I made that call.
Yes, absolutely. I could just hear her like trembling, kind of like when I called her to do this show. She was like, "Who is this?"
She's a delight, and so was her husband, Sergio.
And
Absolutely. Every year she goes to Portugal, she
That's
tells me,
right.
and then she has to hit
Yeah,
the gym
yeah,
for about
yeah.
6 weeks.
I know.
You know? It's like, right? You love that food out there, huh?
More like 6 months. But no.
So now, what are you up to, young lady? Now, are you and Don going to? Well, you're obviously doing a venue soon, so I'm glad to hear that. Where is that, by the way?
It's in Southington.
And is that at the Chris's place there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. How come I didn't get an invitation?
You
oh
just
my goodness.
did.
Look at this.
See, your memory's failing.
I know. My buddy Sylvia didn't even tell me that was going on. My goodness. I get to finally.
Just it came up on us quickly.
Yeah. No, that's look forward to that.
Southington this Sunday at 6 p.m.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to Don and I getting back out there and doing our thing together. And he knows he's my buddy. In fact, Don's probably one of my best friends.
There you go.
Sylvia, don't forget to send me directions on how to get there.
Don't whoop it, John. I'll get that.
You might as well CC me because I don't think I've been there either. So you might
I'm
as well
serious about that. Please do that.
kill two birds with one email there, Sylvia.
Sure,
Sylvia.
I'll get emails out to both.
There you go. Appreciate it. So now, what are you up to these days? Working on another CD, I hope, at some point?
Yep, I am. I'm working on the sophomore CD with some really great young players. Matt D. Champlain,
Oh,
who's actually
yeah.
been on your show,
yeah.
and Matt DeWanzik, who I believe played on your show as well.
No, Matt was not here. He couldn't make it, but yeah, I've seen him perform. He's very good, very good.
He's better than
Right,
very good.
Yeah.
and Curtis Torian, a great drummer, and then I've got some special guests, including our friend Mr. Don Trenner.
Nice. Okay, so there's been a lot of activity going on. That's great. I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, yeah, so we'll be doing the Don Trenner original.
There you go. Now, if I could just get all of you in the studio here to do one big panel discussion, my goodness, and have a jam session. But I don't know. Don doesn't want to carry the ivories in. He wants a baby grand, and I can't fit one in the studio.
That's Don. Don has to have a pristine instrument, and with the way he plays, I can completely understand it. So, no, whatever Don wants, Don gets as far as I'm concerned.
There you go. He told me that, too. He says, if it takes me this long to get home, you'll be getting yours. And I didn't know what he meant by that, but I have a funny feeling. So, all right, the great Sylvia Mims, jazz R&B singer and a friend, of course, of Studio 411, and also a close friend of Don Trenner. Sylvia, thanks for taking a few moments out from your busy schedule to salute your friend.
So, Larry, love you, Don. I'll see you on Sunday.
I love you too, and I'll see you on. Don't forget to send directions.
Otherwise, you'll be singing a cappella. Bye, Sylvia.
Now that I found my phone, I'll definitely take care of it. Take care.
There you go. Bye-bye. All right, Sylvia Mims joining us here. Oh, my goodness. I'm exhausted.
She's wonderful.
Oh, look, Shirley McClellan. No, I couldn't get Shirley, but I'd like to. So I'm throwing Don a hint. We can send her a telepathic message or something. We can try to get Shirley on. Don Trenner here for the hour on Studio 411. We're having some fun with him, and again, our thanks to these fine folks. And later on, as I said, we're going to be watching a video clip of Don along with Shani Rainbolt performing a Don Trenner composition from straight from the Metropolitan Room. I think it was 2012. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and. Again, I look forward to also hearing. I got a copy of that CD.
I also did a day with Sylvia Mims at the Metropolitan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys when her CD came out. Yeah. Now, do you get back there often, or not as much as
when they call me?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I don't even know if we talked about it when you were here the last time, that you had most recently, and maybe you've been back, but. I had a coworker who went to see Tony Orlando and Dawn, and then said to me, "Oh, it was a great show. The orchestra was great." And then come to find out that you were the musical conductor with that marvelous show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That
he did the Steve Allen show. That's when he was on the Steve Allen show.
When he was very young.
Yes,
my goodness,
absolutely.
that was during his first career.
That's right. Yeah.
My goodness. Well, that was the thing I heard too about Steve. And again, I think there were other things that predicated the decision, but that. An hour and 45 minutes, 5 days a week. That's going through a lot of guests.
I call that kind of television talent incinerators.
Yeah.
Because you just burn up so much talent 5 days a week, you know? It's amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah. And again, did you guys, obviously it wasn't taped live, but it was, let's say if you taped, was it one episode a day, or did you do 2 shows?
We started out doing 1 show a day
Right.
for 5 days. Then we finally got into having a rerun. So then we only had to do 4 days a week. Then we figured out that we could do 2 shows a day. So we actually televised them in 2 days. But of course, I had to work 5 days a week to prepare everything and do the writing and all that.
Yeah. Now tell me too, after Steve ended that show and then went to New York, I believe, to host I've Got a Secret for several years, you wound up with a gentleman who probably doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. I know he made an impression on me as a very young person, and I don't think he was necessarily considered one of the greats, but I'm blanking on the name. Les Crane. You went to work as a conductor for him.
I've Got a Secret. Alan Sherman was the sponsor. I mean, he wrote that show, and he became one of the directors of the Steve Allen Show.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So
and he put out an album. I Love Mamba, I Love Papa.
Yeah, Hello Mother, Hello
yeah,
Father.
right.
Yeah,
that's him.
Yeah, and but now, so Steve started with him on I've Got a Secret.
And then he brought him in as a director for a period of time on that Steve Allen show.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
And the Les Crane show, yes, that's true. Les Crane was finished, and they started a show called ABC Nightlife, which is 5 nights a week, again, hour and 45 minutes, with a rotating host.
Ooh.
And William B. Williams was the co-host.
For those who might remember, he was a long time, my goodness, 40, 45 years, maybe longer, was a AM music fixture. Knew Frank Sinatra, would have him come into the studio on the old WNEW AM, and I remember he would go on Carson, and he even did some television as a host, I think, at one point. But
so then Steve called me again after he had finished doing the show. He went back on the air, and I couldn't do the show with him because I was doing ABC Nightlife.
And then that's when
Terry
Gibbs, who then, as far as I can remember, for probably at least the next 15 or 20 years, was with Steve.
I don't think so. Not that
well, no,
long.
not consecutively, but I know anytime he did any TV work, because he even had that show in the early 80s on NBC. It was a variety show, and Terry Gibbs was his musical director. Yeah. So at that point, he okay, Don's too busy. At that point, you were happily tied up with Anne Margaret and Shirley MacLaine, and you worked. We talked a little. You worked with Raquel Welch. You gave her some much-needed tips, I guess.
I didn't want to include in my book the story that I told, but my co-author insisted that I leave it in. So
yeah, and we're just showing here Sylvia Mims, our recent caller. Again, her marvelous CD, Where Lovers Live. And Don, I think last time you were here, we played a cut that you wrote and backed up Sylvia with. Yeah, so Sylvia and Don, good to see you guys working. And she's a marvelous talent.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, she's just so personable. And,
absolutely.
as a matter of fact, there we are. Look at it. It's like they're on cue. It's unbelievable. You would think that someone was hitting a magic button. There's you guys when you were recording. How long did it take to record that CD?
Probably 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 different days in the studio in New York.
Gotcha. There you go. Well, and then here's the rest of the gang. Well, real quick, but I see the clock on the wall tells us that our time is up. Again, we're going to go to a video clip of Don. There's Sylvia again performing with Shani Rainbolt. What was the song again that from her CD, your joint CD?
Memory of the Rain.
Memory of the Rain.
I wrote that when I was 18 years old.
And you wrote that or co-wrote that with
Helen.
With Helen Carr, your first wife. There you go. The book, Leave It to Me, My Life in Music, published by Bear Manor Media, written by the gentleman to my left, Don Trenner, along with Tim Atherton. Cannot thank you enough for braving the elements.
Well, I'm a little disappointed because my plan was to interrupt you and interview you.
Oh.
Because I wanted to find out a little bit more about you.
Oh, I'm very dull, yes. No, I've only had 2 wives, so that's, I don't know. I don't see number 3, but then again, never say never.
Why are you dwelling on that?
No, I'm talking about myself. No, it's me. No, it's I never thought I'd be at number 2. So, you know, I've come to say never in life. You know?
Okay.
I never thought I'd be hosting this show, working with the fine people that I work with.
Well, if
And,
you talk to anybody else, you'll find that I'm very hard to get rid of.
there you go.
So everybody that's still alive is in my life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we look forward to having you back on again. And right now, let's go to that video, Shani Rainbow, along with Don Trenner. And we thank you for joining us here on Studio 411. We will see you next time.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Larry. Thank you.
Don.
Time has come, this lonely night, it's raining. Recalls again my hours of watching the rain. Regretful and tired of pain. It's raining. This is my memory of the rain falling softly on my window pane. I see your face in teardrops, reminding me again. Not a ray of sunshine to be found, raindrops all around. And this is my memory of the rain, reminiscent of tears shed in vain. What caused this strange illusion of teardrops or of rain? Could it be just my memory of the This is my memory of the rain, reminiscent of tears shed in vain.